In this video tutorial, we'll be talking about the general characteristics of spirochetes and what are the different examples of spirochetes we'll be dealing in the future videos. Okay, so let's begin. So let's first take the floating tools out here. Yeah, okay. Now let's talk about let's go. Now, spirochetes. So, what are spirochetes? Now, spirochetes are small, motile, and slender, helically coiled, and flexible kind of bacteria. So, it's a mouthful of things, right? So, let me talk about each of these things. They are very, very small, they are motile, and they are a kind of gram negative in nature. So they are kind of gram negative in nature, kind of bacteria. They're small and motile because they are having flagella. They are having flagella. That's why we term them as motile. But the flagella they are having is a kind of different type of flagella, because the flagella they are having. So let me change the color in this case. Okay, the flagella they are having are intracellular in nature. That's a new thing you hear about flagella, right? Because what we know about flagella is that if this is a cell, flagella is coming out of it. So most of the time the flagella is extracellular. That means the flagella is coming outside. So it is from the cell and it is coming out. So it's a out or extracellular flagella. But in this case, we are seeing that this flagella is intracellular in nature. And what do we mean by intercellular? We'll be looking at in the next slide. And they are flexible in nature. They are a kind of screw-like structure of their body. They are a kind of helical. So they are a kind of helical or spiral structure. That's why they are called spirochetes, because they are having the spiral structure in their body. Okay, and they require very special kind of staining. Usually they are kind of gram negative type, because they are having cell wall and very thin cell wall or very thin peptidoglycan wall, but they are having three membranes, or not three, actually two different membranes. So the arrangement will be like the intermembrane, then the peptidoglycan layer, and outside is a third layer, which is a extracellular membrane. So these are the arrangement for the spirochetes, but they cannot be stained using normal gram negative stain. Usually we need to visualize them in dark field or fluorescent microscopy, or using silver stain to stain them, right? Now if you stain them with GMSA stain, it can also be seen. Now here Borrelia is a type of spirochetes. We'll be talking later. In those case of Borrelia staining, we need to use GMSA staining, but we shouldn't use simple gram staining to look at them. Now come to the general characteristics. Now they are elongated, motile. We've already talked about that. And they are having what we call intracellular flagella or endoflagella, right? Because the flagella is originated inside the cell and it is traveling through the cell inside the cytoplasm. This flagella is also called as axial filament, right? Now in this picture, this picture is telling you what kind of flagella we are talking about. Let's say this is the spiral body. Now this spiral body, inside it we are having cytoplasms, and outside this body we are having, you can see, the for protoplasmic cylinder, and outside it we are having the membrane or cell membrane. Now there in the middle we are having a very thin peptidoglycan layer throughout this place, very thin peptidoglycan layer, right? And outside we are having, we can see, the outer membrane. Now the flagella, as you can see, originates from one terminal site of this of this bacteria, and it is traveling throughout the body to the another end of the bacteria, and it is holding these two different terminal of the bacteria tightly. As a result, the bacteria is a kind of coiled or kind of spiraled on its own, right? That's giving this bacteria that typical spiral shape. Okay, and as you can see, this flagella is moving through the cell, actually moving through the cell, because if we can this particular part inside is not only the cell. If we want to talk about this spirochete, the whole part, that means this whole region is containing the cell membrane is will be called as spirochete. So inside that we are having our flagella, right? So that's why we call them endoflagella, and this flagella is called as axial filament, right? If we cross it and if we look at the top view of this cross section, what we can see that yes, this is the cylindrical body and cytoplasm and all these things. From this cytoplasm, and it is surrounded by this cell membrane, outer membrane. Now here, in between the gap between the cytoplasm and the outer membrane, the axial filaments originates and it is traveling, right? Now in this picture it is kind of very much clear that as you can see here, that it is a kind of spiral. You can see it's a kind of spiral. So if this is the whole body, and you can see these are the regions for our flagella. It is coming from this section, for example. It is going towards another terminal of the bacteria, right? So that's a kind of uniqueness of the spirochetes. In whole different type of spirochetes we are going to find this kind of endoflagella or axial filament. They are structurally complex and they are having central protoplasmic cylinder, we have already seen, and it is bounded by a cytoplasmic membrane and a cell wall. We have already talked about that. Now larger spirochetes are gram negative in nature. Other are too thin to be seen in the light microscopy. So we need to use dark ground microscope, or it is also called as DGM or dark ground microscopy. We can also use fluorescent microscopy for the visualization purpose. Now the classification of spirochetes. Now we can divide actually three different type or three different genera of these spirochetes based on their clinical significance, right? So all of these three can cause severe infections in human being. First one is a treponema, second one is leptospira, and third one is borrelia. Now these are the three different genera. Now they are having different species, like, and among those species, treponema pallidum is one of the dangerous thing. Leptospira as well as borrelia is having several species. Among them, borrelia burgdorferi is very dangerous. So all of them, they are potent pathogen for human beings, so that's why they catch our attention, right? Now others are found in water, sewage, and in mouth and genital tract of human being, right? So usually they are present in environmental regions. They found in water and sewage if it is not properly treated. If the sewage water is properly not treated and it is returning to our home again and we use them, then it can also be found in our mouth and genital tracts and all these things, and they are related with maximum STDs or sexually transmitted diseases. So that's why they are very very important to study. Now, if we look at the morphological characteristics, what are the difference we can see that as we are seeing the larger one are Borrelia. So among all of them, Borrelia is a kind of large and it is having a very flat kind of spiral. Now as we are going smaller, like Spirillum, it is very very short, but it is having very curvy nature. Leptospira is having the most curvy nature among all, and it is a kind of uh, at the end it is a kind of round shaped at the end, like that. And Treponema is a basic kind of curvedness. As we can see that almost Treponema, Leptospira is a kind of structure, is a kind of length is similar, but Borrelia is a larger. Borrelia is a little large, and it is having a flat spiral, and leptospira is a kind of spiral, is kind of bending at its one terminal, right? So in the dark field microscopy we can visualize it just something like that. Okay, so that's the classification. Now some diseases associated with the spiral organisms. For example, say diseases like caused by Treponema pallidum, it is syphilis, it's STD, it's a STD, dangerous STD. And if we look at Leptospira, it is Leptospira interrogans can cause a disease. This is the species interrogans that is causing what we call as leptospirosis. Borrelia burgdorferi can cause Lyme disease in human, and Borrelia recurrentis can cause epidemic relapsing fever, right? And spirillum can cause it's a kind of fever-like symptoms. We are not going to talk about this. We'll be talking about Treponema, Leptospira, as well as Borrelia in separate videos. And I hope that that is giving you a simple basic idea. That's it, and I hope that's helpful. Thank you.